I got a comment on my troubleshooting for trigger and ReTrigger to do an over-the-shoulder angle. It's been a few years since that video came out, and while I don't think I've grown that much, I'm going to go on ahead and measure my hand anyway. Now these measurements are in inches and just a rough estimate, but hopefully it's a good reference for you guys. I'm going to start with the opener for both trigger and ReTrigger, since they have the same setup, as in you get in this modified scissor cut position. It's like a scissor cut, but instead of being on the short edges like so, you're gripping the packet on the long edges. So there are many ways to get into that position. I'm going to show you 2 ways just to keep this video short. So this first way is, I'm pretty sure, the original way that Nikolaj Pederson does it. So you're going to grab up a packet with your thumb, like for Charlier cut, and you're going to rotate it towards your dominant side and move your index finger next to that corner on the long edge, the same side as your thumb. And then you're going to move your middle finger from the long edge to the top short edge, and your ring finger is going to stay here, and you're going to move your thumb and pinky out of the way, and you're going to use a mix of gravity and these fingers as a pivot point to help that packet get in a perpendicular position. Now I don't typically do this method, so mine is a little sloppy, but the mechanics are still the same. Moving on, the way I do it is I do a Charlier cut, but I place this packet down using my thumb at this angle. The way you can do that is, of course, do a Charlier cut, but use your thumb and apply pressure closer to the top and push against this packet. See how it's kind of in the middle? Push against it and kind of angle your thumb to where the fleshy part is pushing the bottom upwards instead of keeping it aligned like this. It's going to be like that. And that might take some practice. And use your middle finger to contact the short edge and index finger to contact the long edge. And once you get to that angle, you can re-grip with your thumb on the bottom long edge. So basically, once you get into the modified scissor cut position, you want to note where your index finger and thumb are placed on the long edges. I recommend putting them in the middle of the packet, which you can clearly see by the line on this houndstooth design. If you put the packet too high and try to do trigger, there's a lot more weight down here because there's more card, and it will be harder to rotate the packet like that. And if you grip it too low, then there's too much space over here on the card, and it might get stuck on this fleshy part of your thumb, and you'll have to like move it out of the way. So in my experience and my personal preference, I say grip it in the middle. Now for the actual motion to get the packet over to your middle finger, you're going to want to do 2 motions at once. So starting with the bottom packet, you need to be able to grip it with your middle, ring, and pinky finger like this, kind of clamping down on that packet a little bit. And if you can grip it like this, then that should mean that you have good dexterity. But basically, you're going to grip that base packet with those 3 fingers, kind of pushing down on the corner a little bit with your pinky, pulling down a little, and then using your middle finger and ring finger to push towards you, like so. So it's like here, and then the short edge is more aligned with your thumb. So you see how the thumb is on the side, and then once you push it, it becomes aligned. And as you do that motion, the little push, your thumb holding onto this top packet is going to move back like you would for a scissor cut, and then you do that motion, and then you should end up about here, and your thumb needs to move down behind that packet like so, to where your middle finger can contact the long edge. So in speed, it's just this, move this packet, move this packet, move thumb down. Now one thing to note is that this top packet always stays on top and in front of the base packet. What you do not want to do is move the packet behind the base packet, because then you might run into this problem where it gets stuck on your middle finger or this packet and you can't move it to where it needs to go. stay, and front. So now we are on to the rotating part for trigger, which is where you use your middle finger to close the packet. So you should have made it to this position where your middle finger can contact the long edge by your thumb, and you want to grip the packet between your index finger and middle finger, allowing you to let go with your thumb. So then you're in this position, and your ring finger and pinky finger are clamping down on that base packet to make sure it doesn't fall. Now you might experience times where you try to rotate this packet and then these cards slip from your index finger and rotate that direction. So you just gotta practice to make sure you have a good grip with your index finger and middle finger. But pretty much once you're here, all you have to do is move your index finger down to this side of the packet. But it still kind of lands behind, but you should be able to see it when you close. You see how you can see my nail in this closing position? And during that entire movement, your thumb is out of the way, but slower. You're here, your index finger moves down, while your middle finger moves up. So index goes down, middle moves up, and then your index finger lands in this position. Without the packet, it's kind of just this motion, like that's about all it is. So yeah, that's trigger, and if you have more questions, be sure to comment them down below. So for ReTrigger, it's essentially the same. You just need enough cards to break off packets with your middle finger. But once you get to this position, you obviously need to apply pressure with your middle finger on this packet. So this is the hardest part in my opinion, and definitely when you're first starting, it's going to take a lot of pressure, which means a lot of pushing into that packet, like your index finger and middle finger are squeezing together to break off a packet. When you first start, you might see the cards bending a little like this, and that's okay. It will take some practice to build that muscle and get comfortable with breaking off a packet. But not only are you pushing your middle finger against that packet into your index finger, you're also moving your middle finger and doing this pinching motion like Oliver mentions in his tutorial between your thumb and middle finger. It's doing this little motion. Hopefully that will help split the packet as well. So you're squeezing with your index finger and middle finger together, and then you're also squeezing your thumb and middle finger together. And that should hopefully break off a packet. You see how this top corner is now higher than this top corner because you broke off that packet by squeezing your thumb and middle finger together. And if the combination of squeezing your index finger, middle finger together, and your middle finger and thumb together, also move your middle finger downwards. Middle finger goes down, thumb goes up. Again, it might take a lot of practice and a lot of pressure at first, but once you get more comfortable with it, it should get easier over time. But once you have that packet split, you're going to take your thumb and move it out of the way, again, like you would for a scissor cut. So basically your thumb is here on the long edge, and it's still holding onto this top packet. But you want to move your thumb away from this bottom corner, so you're going to move that out, and now it's closer to the short edge instead of the long edge, and you've kind of got this angle going like this. And then you just close this packet the same way you do for regular trigger, while holding on to that packet with your thumb and index finger. And then you can repeat the trigger motion and do ReTrigger again by splitting off. Move your thumb out of the way of that bottom corner, and then close like trigger. And then you can close with trigger again. My final tips, as mentioned in the old video, for both trigger and ReTrigger, is that you can practice the swivel motion on their own with just the small packet. So you can practice both the rotation like this, and that will definitely help. And it's also just a good kind of fidget move. And you can practice the splitting motion. And that way you don't have to worry about a big base packet in your way. So those were my tips for both trigger and retrigger, updated and a better angle hopefully. So if this was helpful, be sure to let me know, and be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.